Good afternoon, everyone. Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal, Vadakkam, Kem Cho, Suprabhat, Sabha Khair, whatever it is. So I welcome you all again in our income tax session. And this is our chapter number 2, what we will be discussing today. That is regarding residential status. So it's a very important topic. And let me tell you, in chapter number 1, I personally believe there is a problem with chapter number 1 because we are discussing about the rate of taxes, some surcharge concepts, domestic company, individual definitions, black money, white money. So a lot of thing has been covered. And in almost 60 to 70% cases, there are things in which it has been written that it will be discussed later in the chapter or in the future chapters what we will be discussing. Either it's clubbing provisions, it's set of provision, it's deduction provision, even special rate of taxes, etc. So if you are going through with the chapter number 1, so there are certain things which has been cleared in chapter number 1 itself, like definitions, introduction part, basic provisions. But there are certain, or I can say more than 40-50% things are uh, included in chapter number 1, which is going to be explained in detail in further chapters like residential status. So we have heard this word in chapter number 1 that if you are a resident, then this rate of tax is applicable. If you are a non-resident, then this tax rate is applicable. And I told you that we will discuss these things later. So chapter number 2, what we are going to discuss will elaborate, will explain in detail what is the meaning of residential status, what is resident, non-resident, what is the impact of being a resident or non-resident. So chapter 1, if you are going through and you think that it is very difficult, but it is not so actually, because a lot of thing is going to be discussed later in the chapter. So one by one, when you will cover the future chapters, then you will understand chapter number 1 more easily. So it's a kind of a trailer of a movie which you are going to see in every chapter one by one. So today we will be discuss chapter number 2, and it is very important. Now the good thing about chapter number 2 regarding residential status and incidence of tax, that it will only discuss about the residential status and incidence of tax. So generally it is not correlated or connected with the future chapters. The future chapter has, of course, uh, some other provision, including the residential status, but this chapter is completely talks about only two provisions, which is residential status, incidence of tax, and income arises in India, etc. provision. So we will discuss today that. I welcome you all. Okay, Mr. Sankaran. Okay, pranam to my favorite guru on Saraswati Day celebrated in Tamil Nadu. Okay, happy Saraswati Day, Mr. Sankaran, and thanks for the appreciation. I really appreciate that words. It means a lot. And आप सभी को रामनवमी की शुभकामनाएं. Happy Ramnavami to all. Good afternoon, Namaste, Maroju, Nitin, Bhumika, Aditi is saying rebate received under default tax regime on 7 lakh income, but why it is received on income more than 7 lakh? So the special provision has been included. We have discussed that provision, Aditi, in the last lecture. The rebate is up to 7 lakh, but in case of section 115 BAC, there is extra rebate, what you can claim under assessment year 25-26 provision up to if your total income is 7,22,220 rupees. So it has been given like a marginal relief that we have already discussed. Okay. Like Pushpa movie. Okay, what was that? Okay, Sundarya, good morning. Sudhir, good morning. Pallavi, good afternoon. Dilip, good afternoon. Ritika, good afternoon. Okay, everybody have a very good afternoon. And before starting the class, our usual thing to share a thought for the day. And you can see today's thought for the day is dream big. So of course, when you start this journey to becoming a chartered accountant, it's a big dream. It's not an easy course. So of course, dream big, stay positive. This is really a very important aspect during this journey. You have to be positive. Do not take burden. Do not think you cannot do this course. Do not think that you have less time, so it's very difficult to clear the examination. No. Be positive. Give your best. Work hard. So let me tell you, most of the students or parents or people think that CA is for only intelligent students. But in my opinion, have a different opinion regarding this intelligent word. CA is all about hard working in a disciplined way. Management your studies, and if you are ready to work hard, you easily could be a chartered accountant. So there is no concept like only intelligent students can do, and every student can also complete CA course very easily. And I'm the example of it also. I was a very average student of my school time. Till 12th, I was a very average. I guess, I believe I was below average. I've received all the punishments you can't even imagine. I was so average in my studies. So every teacher is going to punish me in the class, everyone. So I have taken all of punishments during my school classes, but I was a very hard worker. And when I joined this course, I decided that I will complete it. So no matter I was intelligent or not, I was a very hard worker. And those my colleagues who joined this course and they were topper of my class, they quit this course. They did not able to clear it. And I cleared it very easily because I believe in hard work with a specific strategy and a disciplined manner. And the last but not the least, enjoy the journey. You will remember these days. It's a beautiful journey. Whatever you will come through the depression, the time you will feel to about very bad about your study. Maybe you are ill, maybe you are feeling not that positive during this journey. But let me tell you, enjoy this journey. When after a struggle, you will get this the aim of your life. You will really going to feel the happiness what you should actually. So please dream big. Please stay positive, work hard. There is no shortcut. There is no escalators for the goal you are going to achieve. You have to take the stairs. So you have to work hard and please enjoy this journey. So we are all with you, and you will be a CA later or sooner if you work on these things. Okay. So today we will be discussing provision regarding residential status. Before starting the chapter technically, let me tell you what is the importance of this chapter. What is the importance of this chapter in our income tax? Under income tax, your income is going to be taxable depending upon your residential status. Yes, this will decide what kind of income is going to be taxable for you and what kind of income is not going to be taxable for you. So for the purpose of income tax prospects, it's a very important chapter. And you might remember in chapter number 1, when we were on a topic which was like computation of total income, the first point was find out or determine the residential status. So whenever a client comes to us, first thing what I need to ask, what is the category of a person in which he falls, like individual, HUF, etc. And the second question is what is his residential status. So how we will find out the residential status of any person? These are the provisions what we are going to discuss in chapter number 2. And you will also see the importance of this chapter when we will discuss the incidence of tax topic in this chapter number 2. So first of all, we are discussing how to determine the residential status of a person. And later on, we will discuss what is the importance. I will show you the practical importance of being a resident or non-resident, or the importance of this chapter before the taxability of any person in our country. So the status impact upon the taxability of incomes in the hands of a person in our country. So you can see in the picture, this Mr. whomsoever is there is very confused. He wants to know whether I am a resident or non-resident. So how do I determine my residential status? Before discussing the residential status concept, whether he is a resident, suppose he is Mr. A, and he wants to know whether I am a resident or non-resident. Before finding out the residential status of Mr. A, we need to understand two more terms which will come through in this chapter during our provision. But I just want to explain, or I want to discuss these two terms before starting the provision, so it will not break the flow of our studies when these terms will come between the provisions of residential status. Clear? The first is one, citizen of India. And the second term is called person of Indian origin. In short, we call it POI, person of Indian origin. So these two terms will intervene during the provision what we are going to discuss regarding the residential status. So just we need to discuss these terms before the starting of provision, so it will not interrupt the flow of our provisions. Okay, so we will discuss what is the meaning of citizen of India and a person of Indian origin. So first term is very simple, citizen of India. So whether you are a citizen of India or not, so you must have seen a form in many places and they asked whether you are a citizen of India or not, and we generally take the provision yes, we are citizen of India. So can you tell me what is the meaning of being citizen of India, or how we will determine someone is citizen of India or not? Or let me give you a simple question. Suppose Mr. A is standing in front of you and you wants to know that whether he is a citizen of India or not. So what question you are going to ask to Mr. A to find out whether he is a citizen of India or not? So let me see what kind of question you are going to ask to find out the citizenship of a person. Okay. Vidushi, for January attempt, rebate is under 215 BC will consider. Yes, Vidushi, I have written in the notes what we were discussed, that for January attempt that will be 7,27,780. It has been written in the notes, and for May it would be 7,20,220. Correct. Mahima is saying something. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, though I am a direct entry student and very hard working, but पता नहीं क्यों डर बहुत लग रहा है. How to deal with nervousness? Please guide. Let me tell you, Mahima, I was also a direct entry student. I completed my 12th when I was 16-year-old in 1997. At was time I was 16-year-old. Then I complete my graduation when I was 19 years old, almost 19 and 20. Then I start the journey of being a CA. So I was also a direct entry student. And in 2000, I guess 2004, I became a CA. When I was 23, I was a CA. After even completion of graduation. तो डरने वाली कोई बात नहीं है. Just focus on the study, plan your strategy and do not fear from work hard. अपना एक रूटीन बनाना पड़ेगा. इस हिसाब से मैंने फर्स्ट लेक्चर में भी बोला है, इफ योर एग्जाम इन May 2025, तो टिल March 2025 आपके सारे सब्जेक्ट्स कंप्लीट होने चाहिए. जहां भी आप क्लासेस अपनी ले रहे हैं वो सारे के सारे जो हमें नोट्स चल रहे हैं हमारे, और कम से कम March 25 तक आपका उन सारे सब्जेक्ट्स का दो बार रिवीजन हो जाना चाहिए. सो इफ यू आर एबल टू कंप्लीट दिस थिंग, you will be able to crack this examination. I personally believe. I just follow that strategy. मुझे बहुत लोगों ने कहा था ये बहुत डिफिकल्ट कोर्स है, यू आर एवरेज स्टूडेंट, यू वुड बी एबल टू क्लियर सीए, तुमसे नहीं होगा. और जिन जिन बच्चों ने मुझसे कहा था, मेरी सीनियर्स ने, मेरा सीए कंप्लीट हो गया था 3 ईयर में, और वो लोग उसके बाद भी सीए करते थे. सो nobody is going to judge you, nobody is going to tell you what you can or what you can't. Only one person in this world who will decide what you can and what you can't, and that is you. You can do everything. Okay, chalo. Next is Vidushi. Yes, your message delivered. Ankit Mishra. Arey, kya baat hai? So rebate is available in old regime 12,500. So any fixed amount available in new regime up to 7 lakh rupees. Yes, 25,000 up to rupees 7 lakh. The fixed limit is 25,000. Look, don't do this. Okay, fine. These topics are related to our previous lectures, basic concept number 1. So those are asking queries regarding basic concept chapter that will actually intervening our chapter number 2. So we have discussed each and everything in our previous 3 sessions. So you can go through what those classes. These are on YouTube. You will find maximum questions of your answer what you are going to ask. Okay. Next is okay. So now there are answer for citizenship. Somebody is saying Shruti Kumari permanent residency. Sudhir Pandey is saying voting right. So if it is a voting right, then that means the persons or the individuals, those having age less than 18 years, cannot be said citizen of India. So that is not correct, of course, by birth or by registration. Okay, if I have a property in India, I will ask it where he live in India. Acha, where are you from? Where he was born? I will ask him the Aadhaar card, and if he do not have an Aadhaar card, then so Aadhaar card is not a valid reason determining the citizenship. Okay, no. Harshit is saying, Namaste, sir. I took my 2024 classes from Board of Studies. Very good. And I got 62 marks in taxation. Congratulations. And one concept of Manjula J. Shah. Okay, yes, in capital gain, there was a case law of Manjula J. Shah gives me full marks in that particular question that you taught and said mark it as important. Thank you, sir, for your guidance. Thanks to you also, Mr. Rashid, that you heard us. If you are listening to your faculties, definitely this is going to be benefit for you. And congratulations. Well done. Voting, Aadhaar, are you Indian citizen? Okay, you will ask to him that you are citizen of India. So he is coming to your office to find it out and you will ask him this question. Very bad. Okay. Birthplace, residency, ancestor. Praveen is saying state minimum 182 days. That is for residential status purpose, not for citizenship. That we are going to discuss, Praveen. Okay. Permanent residence, citizenship by birth. Do you have any proof of citizenship? Okay. Do you need any ID, etc.? So most of you are saying about citizenship will be decided depending upon if he is born in India or not. So that is not a correct answer. Okay. Let me tell you why. If birth is the decisionship factor regarding the citizenship, then it will be not possible someone to change the citizenship, because if you have already born in India, so that means you cannot be a citizenship of any other country or vice versa. But that is not so. Citizenship could change also. So birth is not the correct answer. Let me tell you what document we should see. So for the purpose of determining the citizenship, the document has been prescribed as passport. Let me tell you why and what. Because as soon as I write over here passport, you might be about to question me, sir, we do not have a passport. Then how we will determine it? So just patience. I know you are going to ask this question. So we are ready for the answer. Just listen the provision. Then your queries already is going to be answered. Okay. So documents, what we actually specified for finding the citizenship of a person is a passport. Now, in the passport, there is a column which says permanent address. So in that permanent address column, if the country name is India, you will be called a citizen of India. So the document which has been prescribed is passport, not voter ID, not ration card, not PAN card, not Aadhaar card, etc., etc., etc. It's passport. So the basic logic behind this, citizenship decided with permanent address. So if you are permanently reside in India, you will be called a citizenship of India, and that is going to be verified with a document that is called passport. So this is the logic, the concept, and this is the document. Now, of course, you are going to ask, what if somebody does not have a passport? Of course, most of you must not have a passport. So if you do not have a passport, suppose somebody do not have a passport. So Mr. A comes to my office and I want to know whether he is citizenship of India. So he says, yes, I have a passport. So I will see permanent address country is India or not. If it is in India, he is citizenship of India. And if it is no, that means if you do not have a passport, so legally, you did not went outside India. So if somebody does not leave India legally, that means his permanent address automatically belongs to which country? India. So if you do not have a passport, that means you did not leave India legally. So technically, where is your residence automatically? It is automatically considered as in India. So you all are citizen of India. So that was the meaning of citizenship. Okay. In the examination, I don't think they will ask citizenship how to determine, but you should know this thing because this is very basic knowledge. Okay. Now the second word was person of Indian origin. In short, we call it POI, person of Indian origin. So suppose there is Mr. B, and we need to find out whether Mr. B is a person of Indian origin or not. So for determining that Mr. B is a person of Indian origin or not, we need to check that whether Mr. B birth or parents of Mr. B. Right? And grandparents of Mr. B. So if anyone, even anyone, so if anyone has been born in undivided India, undivided means before the partition of India. The partition took place in 1947. So if any one of them has born in undivided India, technically before 1947, in undivided India. Suppose the question says that grandparents of Mr. B has born in 1930 in Dhaka. So Dhaka is now in Bangladesh, but before partition, it was a part of India. So Mr. B will be called person of Indian origin. Or in 1930, his grandparents born in Karachi, Islamabad, etc. So they were also part of India before partition. So Mr. B will be called person of Indian origin. Clear? Now my question is this, then when I am talking about these person, so technically how many persons I am talking about? B is 1 of course, parents means 2, total 3. The question is about this, what is the meaning of grandparents? Whether it's paternal or maternal or both. So if it is only paternal, then there will be only 2 include. So total 2 plus 2 plus 5. Out of these 5, if anyone born in undivided India, B will be person of Indian origin. And if the grandparents mean paternal as well as maternal, paternal means father side and maternal means mother side grandparent. So if paternal, maternal both include, then total 4 grandparents over here. So then the total number of person will be 4, 2 and 1. That means out of these 7 we need to check. And if only paternal, that means out of only 5 we needs to check. So this is a general knowledge question. What is the meaning of grandparents? Whether it's paternal, maternal or both. Let me see who can answer that. So Pallavi Jha is saying both. Okay. I am waiting for more answers. Okay. Dilip is saying paternal. Tejaswin is saying paternal. Ritika is saying both. Bhavya is saying both. Aditi is saying both. The correct answer is both. Paternal as well as maternal. That means Dada, Dadi, Nana, Nani, Chow. So technically we need to find out 7 person. So out of these 7 person, if any one of them has born in undivided India, so in that situation, Mr. B will be considered as a person of Indian origin. So suppose the question says that Mr. A born in India in 1990. Fine. So he is a person in origin, not yet. His parents born in England in 1960. Not yet. His grandparents, out of his grandparents, his grandfather born in 1945 in Dhaka and grandmother born in 1946 in England. So whether Mr. A will be treated as a person of Indian origin or not, the answer would be yes because of this condition. So if any one of them has born before partition, then he or she will be treated as person of Indian origin. Suppose if I'll say grandfather has born in 1948 in Dhaka and grandmother in 1946, suppose grandmother is having higher age. So in that case, Mr. A would not be treated as person of Indian origin because till 1947, before 1947 partition, the birth should take place in undivided India, which is not in this scenario. Okay. Okay, question has been, age has been only 12 years, so that is a mistake. Let me see, age should be, we will take 2000, then 1970, then this age will be relatable. Okay, it was only getting 12 years, so it would be unusual question. Clear? So the concept, the need to be clarified was only this, that out of these 7 people, at least one should take birth in undivided India. Clear? Arun Mishra is asking, sir, please explain it again. Arun, you are on YouTube. You can scroll back the video beta and you can see it multiple times you want. No restriction. But if we will start revising it like this, so we would not be able to complete a single topic in our 2.5-hour class. Okay. Miss Pallavi Jha is asking, for example, Kamala Harris is a person of Indian origin because his maternal grandparents both in India. So if her maternal grandparents belongs to India and if they born before 1947, then of course she will be a person of Indian origin. Okay. How a person can produce grandparents' birthplace? What kind of question is this, Kiran? This is not the part of our, of course, class. And this thing called birth certificate. Okay, we do have a birth certificate always. So from that we can prove it. So these kind of question is irrelevant. Kindly ask only those query. Those are related to our topic. Okay. Tejaswin asking, sir, if Mr. B children will be POI? No, of course not, because if Mr. B children is there, so their birth, their parents and their grandparent birth was not in undivided India, so they would not be called person of Indian origin. Clear? So now we have discussed both the term like citizenship and the person of Indian origin. So now we can move further to understand the provision of residential status. Now we have discussed the definition of person already in section 231 of chapter 1 and there were 8 person included. Individual, HUF, AOP, BOY, etc., etc., etc. So one by one, we will discuss how to determine the residential status of those persons. So if we will see it through the chart, then it will be like this. Residential status. There is a concept for individuals. We need to find out when an individual means me, you, etc. How we will find out the residential status of an individual. The second concept is for Hindu undivided family that we also discussed in section 231. We will find out how we will determine the residential status of a Hindu undivided family. Then we have provisions for companies. So either you are an Indian company or you will be a foreign company. We need to find out when a company would be a resident or a non-resident. Clear? And partnership firm and all others. If it's a AOP, BOI, AJP, etc., all will be included in category number 4. So we have 4 category. One provisions are for individuals. Then the provisions are for HUF. Then we have provisions for company. And then we have a provisions D, that is for partnership firm, LLP, etc. Every other person needs to be determine the status as per case number D. So we will start the provision from case number D. We will read the provision also. First of all, I am explaining the provision with the help of a chart. So when we will read the provision, you will understand the language completely. As we explained the meaning of citizenship, POIU. So when you read the definition of POIU, you will be able to understand the definition or the language also. So when a partnership firm or other will be considered as a resident or non-resident, so the logic behind upon the single term that is called control and management. So we have to find out where the control and management of that partnership firm is. So if the control and management is wholly outside India. Okay, what is the meaning of control and management? So the concept says control and management means where are the business decisions are going to be taken. So if that partnership firm is registered in India, it does not matter. We have to see where are the decisions are going to take. Suppose the partnership firm is in India. We have 5 partners, all belongs to India. But all the business meetings, so for a simple language, you can correlate with the business meeting. So all the business meetings are taking place in Singapore. In a financial year, there was 10 business meeting heads and all 10 business meetings are held outside India, in Singapore, some in Dubai, etc. So that is called, if control and management is outside India, wholly. Wholly means all business meetings, if held outside India, then that partnership firm will be called non-resident in India. It's very simple. We have to see the control and management or business meeting. It will be given in question that how many meetings has been held outside India, all or none or partial. The second case is it says if business meeting or control and management is partially in India or wholly in India, then it will be called a resident in India. So the concept is very simple. So if it is wholly outside India, it will be a non-resident. If it's wholly or partly in India, it will be a resident. So if I'll say there was 10 business meetings held in India, out of those 10, 9 held outside India and 1 in India, so that firm would be called a resident in India. Let me tell you, if you are a resident in India, so that is not a good news for the purpose of income tax. Because if you are a resident in India, then you would have to pay higher taxes. So there is more chances to become resident in India because only one meeting is required to be held in India and you would be a resident. So if you are already held 9 meetings outside India, I would suggest you kindly make all meeting outside India to minimize your tax liability. Okay, so that was for firm, LLP, all persons other than these individual, HUF and company. Now we are moving on to find out the residential status of a company. How we will find out that? An Indian company will always be resident. It's a fixed provision. Always resident in India. We do not need to check anything. If you are an Indian company, then you will be always called a resident in India. There is fixed rule. We do not need to check why. Because there's a logic behind it. If you are an Indian company, your registered office must be in India automatically. And if registered office in India, then all the business meeting must be held in India. So technically, automatically, control is management in India. So that's why it's always resident. Okay. If you are a foreign company, then we have a concept of POEM, P.O.E.M. And the full form is place of effective management. The place of effective management. In short, we called it POEM. So place of effective management also have some kind of like business connection means. So what is the exact meaning of place of effective management? That is going to be discussed in final level. In intermediate level, the question will tell you if the place of effective management in substance means majority, in substance. So if the place of effective management in substance in India, it would be a resident. And if it is outside India, it would be non-resident. So again, it's very simple. You can see the provision regarding the residential status of a firm and companies are too easy. The problem is in HUF and individual. And in my opinion, of course, in the examination also, individuals are maximum important because there are multiple cases. You will see there are multiple combination, permutation conditions are there to find out the residential status of an individual in our country. Before that, now moving on to HUF. In case of HUF again, control and management matters. The same meaning having business meeting. So if a HUF having control management wholly outside India, then it would be non-resident as soon as simple. And if it is partly or wholly in India, then it would be resident. So you might be thinking that HUF provision and PUM provisions are exactly same. Yes, exactly same. There's no difference. Then why we did not include HUF in PUM also? So there could be only three categories: individual, company, and other. So when the provisions of partnership firm, other, and HUF are exactly same, so why we did not include the HUF in that category? Because there is some reason behind it. That's why we did not include, or we could not include. Why? Let me show you why. Because if a partnership firm is resident, that is our answer. The question solution is finished. And if it's a non-resident, the question solution is ended. We need to just write at the resident or non-resident. Same in case of a company, whether it's Indian or foreign. But under HUF, if HUF become resident, if it become non-resident, the question is over. But if it become resident, then we have sub-classification concept also. This sub-classification concept is not in case of company, not in case of firm and other. So that's why we separated it from the PUM provision. Till finding out it's a resident, non-resident, it's same provision like PUM. But PUM resident concept, if you find a PUM resident, the answer is end. But in HUF case, it does not end. We need to find out the sub-classifications also. So if HUF is a resident, we have to find it out whether it is a resident and ordinary resident. In short, we called it ROR. Full forms has been already written in the notes, so do not bother about it. So if a HUF becomes a resident, so either it would be resident or ordinary resident. So a new subclassification, we will call it HUF is a resident or ordinary resident. Or it would be a resident and not ordinary resident. So there could be two situations. Whether HUF would be a answer would be not resident only. The answer would be either this or this. When it become a resident, ordinary resident, when it will become a resident, not ordinary resident, that we will discuss after the provisions of individual. Why after the provision of individual? Because this concept is going to be discussed in individual case in detail. So there is a sub-classification also in case of individual. whether we are resident, ordinary resident, or not ordinary resident. So when we will discuss that concept in individual category in detail, that is going to be copy paste in case of HUF. So technically we completed the status for a company, we complete the status for a firm, but HUF is not completed yet. We will come back to the HUF to find out the ROR and RNOR category. But before that, we have to find out the residential status of individual. So, iska bhi sequel aayega. Fine. It's like part one is there, part two will come later. Fine. Like end game, infinity war. So, end game will come of HUF later after completing our individual provisions. Clear? So now the individual concept is there. So before starting the individual concept, let us discuss provision with the help of notes for a partnership firm, company, and HUF. Clear? It's a very interesting topic. And it's not that complicated as chapter 1, because in chapter 1, we have to study a lot of things coming. It's just like bombarding. You have to understand the concept of income tax, then the definitions, then black money provision, then previous year, assessment year, then rate of taxes, then surcharge आ रहे हैं, then rebate आ रही है, then margin relief आ रहा है, फिर agricultural income, integration provision, composite business. So a lot of things are bombarding, and the problem is this: a lot of things is connected with the future chapter also. So it might confuse it, or it might make us feel how difficult income tax it is. But now you can see. The first point was find out residential status in chapter number 1 before calculating total income. So now we are discussing it, and you will feel it is very easy if you are able to understand the conceptually what we are discussing. So we completed the firm other provision, HUF, the company provision, and almost 70-80% provisions of HUF also. So let's read it with the help of notes. Okay. So residential status under section 6. Okay, Ms. Pallavi asking what is the example of POEM? I just explained you, this is not in our syllabus. It will be discussed in final. So focus what we have to study for now. Even if you want to understand what is the meaning of POEM, so there are certain categories regarding the voting rights, director belongs to which country, etc., etc. There are multiple conditions. And if you want to learn, you can go on Google, search it out for income tax. What is the meaning of POM? There will be multiple provisions. So that is for your personal knowledge. Okay. Okay. Hans Kumar Singh is asking, when was partition of India taken place? What is this, Hans? This is so common. You are in like intermediate level. You did not read when the partition of India had taken place. It's very sad to hear this kind of question. You should not ask this kind of question. It's basic knowledge. 15th August 1947, we defend independent country. On 14th August, Pakistan established, and before that, it will be undivided India till 13th August 1947. Please do not ask these kind of questions. Okay. Karan is asking, sir, what Kambeshwari is asking on only maternal, no parental born in undivided India. So we discussed Kambeshwari that it's maternal, any of them, whether it's maternal or paternal, any one of them, if born in undivided India, then you will be a person of Indian origin. Okay. Second is Karan is saying, would the children of person of Indian origin but born and living abroad would be considered person of Indian origin? Yes. Where do the children born does not matter. So if that he or she is born outside India, but his or her parent or any of his grandparent has born in undivided India, they will still be called person of Indian origin. Sir, what if the grandparents both after 1947 in India, can we say in the person of Indian origin? No. If out of those 7% we discussed, nobody has born in undivided India, then that person would be treated as person of Indian origin. It's as simple as that. Okay. Yes, even one meeting would be make him resident. Do not say like that, even one meeting will lead to income tax people in India. We did not decide whether he needs to pay tax or not. We just discussing he would be a resident or not. Yes, if he would be a resident, there are more chances to pay tax in India. Example of PM Sudhir Pandey. I already make the chart for the finding out residency status provision. So there is no need to upload the handwritten chart because I've already made that chart also. That would be really easy for all of you to understand with the help of that chart also. It is here. I will upload that. Don't worry. In this chart, it has been written. Each and everything is clearly written for firm another, for company, etc. Everything has been written over there. Okay. Tejaswin Marwad asking, sir, I want to confirm. Yes, company and firm rate you have to learn, but there would be a very simple question regarding it. There are some question has been given in your tested knowledge question, or I guess some illustration is there. So from there you can understand the provisions, how to calculate the tax for a company, etc. Okay, so a person nationality, okay, under the income tax act, the total income of each person, is taxed on the basis of his residential status. A person nationality has no effect on his residential status. It means that a citizen of India can be a non-resident or a citizen of UK could be a resident. So citizenship does not tell that whether you would be a resident or not. It indirectly helps you to find out the status that we will discuss later in this chapter, but it does not a fixed rule. A citizen of India can be a non-resident and a citizen of UK could be a resident. So residential status to become a resident or not, there are separate conditions. Citizenship is going to be checked with other conditions. Under the Income Tax Act, an individual and HUF can be treated as ordinary, not ordinary, or a non-resident. We have seen through the chart that individual or HUF could be a resident, ordinary resident, resident, not ordinary resident, or a non-resident. All other person like firm, company, etc. only could be a resident or non-resident. They do not have any sub-classification. Now we have the definition of person of Indian origin means any individual who himself or his parents or his or her grandparents born in undivided India, maternal and paternal, any of them. The status provisions, what we are going to discuss is here with the help of a chart. The status provision is going to discuss section 6 and then incidence of tax, section 5 will discuss them with the help of section 9 also. So religious status category. So we have 3 categories. I've told you resident and ordinary resident, resident but not ordinary resident and non-resident category. For individual HUF, we have 3 categories. For other only, we have resident and non-resident category. Now, the registered status of an assessee must be ascertained with reference to each previous year. Please read this carefully. We have to find out whether someone is a resident or not resident each year. So it is a possibility that someone is going to be resident for current previous year or maybe a non-resident for next year. And again, after that next year, again become a non-resident or resident. So residential status could be changed year-wise. There is no fixed rule that you would be a resident and you will always be a resident. No. As income tax talk about previous year assessment years, so your status would be checked for each previous year separately. A person who is a resident and ordinary resident in 1 year may become non-resident or resident but not ordinary resident in another year or vice versa. So it will change according to the conditions you need to fulfill. So this is point number 1 and that describes the residential status of an individual that we will discuss later. I just want to discuss with you with the help of notes the provision we just gone through about the partnership firm and company residential status. We will come back to this individual residential status provision. So you can see how detailed these provisions are. I was telling you that it is very complicated, very permutation combinations. So all these are individual and running provisions are running till now. Till page number 7 it was there. Still it's individual, etc. Now residential status of HUF, AOP and firm. So we have discussed the HUF concept and AOP and firm. So section 6.2 says HUF, firm and AOP is said to be resident of India during the previous year. The control and management of its affair is wholly or partly in India. Then it would be a resident. When they will be called non-resident if the control and management is wholly outside India. So they will be called non-resident. We have discussed this provision with the help of course, the chart also. What is the meaning of control and management? That means about the business meeting. You can go through with the concept. What is the meaning of control and management? Okay. Now, situation 2 talks about that HUF could be a resident and ordinary resident or not ordinary resident. That provision we skipped for now because we will discuss it later after we discussing that provision regarding individuals. So now we need to see the registered status of a company. So for the company, either it would be an Indian company. You can see that if it is an Indian company, all Indian company will always be resident. You need not to check anything else. In case other than a company, Indian company, of course, in case of other company, if POEM in substance in India, then resident, and if POEM in substance outside India, non-resident. What is the meaning of POE? It has been explained in short. A place where key management of commercial decisions that are necessary for the conduct of the business of an entity as a whole are in substance made. The detail will be discussed at final level. That is also has been explained over here. Clear? So now we are moving on our individual provisions. And please be focused because these provisions are utmost important from the examination point of view. And these are the real provision. Now you will feel that yes, what exactly the residential status provisions are. And with the help of these provision, you can find out the residential status of any individual in this country, including yourself, your parents, your uncle, your cousin, etc. So these are the detailed provisions of residential status. Let me take the query. Mr. Kiran Kumar said, person of Indian origin relating to undivided India only. If a person is born in foreign country and his parents are born in India after 1947, of course he would not be a person of Indian origin. Look, the definition automatically explained everything. I have told you, out of those 7 persons, if any one of them is born in undivided India, then that Mr. A would be called person of Indian origin. So if you understood this definition, then put your question in this definition. That the provision will give you an answer like a machine. So if your question does not satisfy this condition, it would not be a person of Indian origin, else it will be a person of Indian origin. So these are the condition to find out the residential status of an individual. But let me tell you, the language is quite complicated. So I will show you how to find it out with the help of a diagram and chart. Then we will come back to the definition to read the provision as per the notes. So this is the only way to understand. With the help of diagram only, you will be able to understand the provisions of individual. Okay. So we are discussing how to determine the individual residential status. So technically, individual would be either a resident in previous year or non-resident. Clear? Either it would be now we have classification, normal resident, as per section 6(1), or it would be a deemed resident. Now, this is a new concept, like 3 years before it has been introduced, I guess. So that also make things more interesting. 6(1)(a). So either you would be a resident under the normal resident category, or you could be a deemed resident under section 6(1)(a). Now, what is normal resident? Let me tell you, if you want to understand these provision easily, you have to apply these condition upon yourself. So as soon as we are discussing the provision, the condition, apply upon yourself, so you will get the answer automatically. And I will also give you example of each condition, do not worry. So the condition number 1. First of all, we are trying to find out what is the meaning of a normal resident. So you all fall under this. Why? You will come to understand. So section 6(1) says we have a basic condition. We have technically 2 basic conditions. So if you satisfy any of the basic conditions, so we have 2 basic conditions. If you are able to satisfy any of the basic condition, then you will be called a resident in India. So suppose we need to find out whether Mr. A is a resident or not. So we are applying these conditions on Mr. A. So the first basic condition says, suppose this is A part. The first basic condition says, if Mr. A is India for equal to or more than 182 days in India in previous year. So what is the previous year for our examination? It's 2024-25. So that means what duration we are talking about? We are talking about from 1st April 2024 till 31st March 2025. So out of these 365 days, if anyone is in India, any individual is in India for equal to or more than 182 days in India in previous year, so condition 1 would be treated as satisfied and you will be called a resident in India. Understood? So 2024-25, we have 365 days. So for understanding this condition, it happens sometimes that student got confused about the days, whether it's 180 or 182. Why? Because under income tax, in future chapters, there are 180 days limit also applicable in some different concepts. It does not connect it with residential status, but there are 180 days also important for PGBB provision, etc. So at times it happens that we forget either it 182 or 180 for residential status. So it's a very simple trick. Almost 50% of number of days in a year we need to take in. So 365 divided by 2, 182.5. So ignore the rest of it. So that would be 182 days. So it is 182 days we have to take. Clear? So equal to or more than 182 days in India in previous year. So we will be called resident. So for the current previous year, we are actually sitting at the current previous year, and you can say April 30 days I was in India. Now I am giving you an example of myself. In April 2024, I was in India. May, June, July, August, we have crossed September also, and today is 11th of October. So today also will be considered. So if I am in India for these number of days, the total is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 18, and one is 19. So total till now, we all are in India, I guess. 194 days we are in India. So technically we are satisfying condition number 1. So if condition number 1 is going to be checked upon myself, so I would be called a resident in India. Clear? There is no requirement of continuous stay in India also. Now suppose, for example, there is Mr. B. who was in India for April 30 days. In May, he was in India for only 20 days. Then in June, he was in India for 30 days. In July, he was in India for 29 days, as August, etc. So in aggregate, we need to check these 182 days limit in aggregate. So it does not prescribe that you should be in India for 182 days or more continuously. No. So if somebody is in India and then he went outside India, then came back, etc. So in a year, in aggregate, you would be in India for 182 days or more. In aggregate, we need to check this. So if it is 182 days or more in full previous year, whether in continuously or whether in part. So if in aggregate it's 182 days or more, you will be called a resident of India. We have multiple conditions more to come. You must have some queries in your mind, but just control it. Let me complete the condition A and condition number 2. Then we will solve some example and you will be able to understand each and everything very clearly. So condition 1 was this. Now we are moving on to condition number 2. It says or any one condition need to be fulfilled. Condition number 2 says, that was 1, now 2 condition. If even you are in India for 60 days or more in previous year. Now you would be saying, if after 60 days I am going to become a resident, then what is the need of this 182 days condition? No, just wait. The second condition has 2 sub-conditions. It has not a single condition only for 60 days. First, you need to satisfy this condition that you should be in India in previous year 24-25 for only 60 days, whether consecutive or in part in aggregate. And you have to satisfy one more condition. You have to satisfy 2 conditions for this basic condition number 2. Then it would be treated as a resident. So first is you have to be in India for 60 days or more in previous year 24-25, and you have to be in India for 365 days or more. These both condition of point number 2 should be satisfied. In previous year, you should be in India for 60 days or more, plus you have to be in India for 365 days or more in 4 preceding previous year. So in current year, you just need to be in India for 60 days or more. Now 4 preceding previous year, 4 year preceding to our current previous year. So that would be in 23-24, in 22-23, in 21-22, and in 20-21. So out of these 4 preceding previous year, you have to be in India for 365 days or more. Both conditions should be satisfied in previous year 60 days or more, and in last 4 previous year, you must be in India for equal to or more than 365 days. Again, this is again aggregate. No continuation. It could be in this year you are 100 days in India, in second year you are not in India, in third you are 200 days in India, and in this year you are, this is 20-21, 200 days again. So total you are 500 days in India. So this condition would be called satisfied. Suppose someone was in India for only 50 days in previous year, only 50 days. Somebody was in India for only 50 days in previous year, only 50 days. And in 4 preceding year, he was in India for 1000 days. So whether this condition would be treated as satisfied or not? The answer would be no. Because at least 60 days should be there and at least 365 days or more in last 4 preceding years should be satisfied. Both should be satisfied. That's why plus sign is there. So first condition having only one condition. Either you are in India for 182 days or more, you will be a resident. There is no other condition. So if you fulfill this condition, suppose somebody is in India for 200 days in current year, previous year, and 1000 days in 4 preceding previous year. So if you are in India for 200 days, then you satisfy this condition. Then no need to check this condition. You are automatically resident. So condition 2 would be checked only if condition 1 does not satisfy. Let me show you or discuss the provision with the help of an example. Suppose the question says that Mr. A left India, or let me make it more simple for you in starting. Mr. A reside in India in previous year 24-25 for 190 days. Whether he will be a resident or not, the answer would be yes. Because he satisfied condition number 1, that was for 182 days. And condition 1 satisfied, then it does not matter whether in 4 preceding year he was in India or not. You need not to check it. Clear? Example 2. Suppose the question says he is in India for 50 days in previous year and 1000 days in 4 preceding previous year. So now this second example does not satisfy condition number 1, 182 days, because he is only 50 days. Even he is satisfying 365 days condition, but he does not satisfy the 60 days condition also. So in this case, he will be called a non-resident. In this case, he will be called a resident. Suppose third example, he was in India for current year 100 days, previous year 24-25. And in 4 preceding previous year, he was in India for 300 days only. So now he does not satisfy 182 day condition. He satisfied the second 60 days condition, first point, but the second point also need to be satisfied, that is for more than 365 days. Does not satisfy that, so he would be a non-resident. Clear? Till now, religious status provisions are simple. Till now, it's not difficult. It's very simple. It will be little complicated later. It was normal provision. So I believe you understood the provision till now. There are 2 conditions. First one was the 182 day condition. The second was 60 days or more condition. Let's go further. Again, individual. I am redrafting that provision. Whether he or she will be a non-resident or resident. For resident purpose, there would be a normal resident or it would be a deemed resident. Section 61A or section 61. For becoming a normal resident, there are some basic conditions. Basic condition 1 says, if you are in India for 182 days or more in previous year. We explain what is the meaning of previous year, 24-25. Or condition 2 was, you are in India for 60 days or more in previous year and more than equal to 365 days in 4 preceding previous year. Till now we have discussed the provision. One clarification I have already given you, that the days requirement is not continuously stay. It does not matter. We need aggregate. Okay? Second, one more clarification. The one more clarification says the day of departure, and the day of arrival. If you are leaving India, if you're going outside India in that situation, or if you are coming back to India, so the day of arrival and the day of departure will be considered as stay in India. That full day will be considered as stay in India. For example, if I am leaving India today, I am going to Singapore for visit, for a vacation, for a holiday today. So today is 11th October, and suppose at 4 p.m. my flight is there, and I'm going to leave India at 4 p.m. after 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Okay, suppose. So in that case also, 11th will be counted as full day stay in India. The provision has been made that you need not to calculate on hourly basis. If somebody is leaving India, then the day of departure and the day of arrival will be considered as stay in India. So 11 will be considered as I am in India. Suppose today on 11th of October, somebody is coming back into India from Hong Kong, and his or her flight arrived at 11 p.m. 11 p.m. So technically he or she is in India only for 1 hour. But for the purpose of calculation, today 11 they will be considered as stay in India. So the day of departure and the day of arrival, it does not matter how many hours you were in India at the day of arrival and departure. We will consider the full day as stay in India. So if somebody is going on particular day or coming back, they both day will be counted as stay in India. So in example, we will discuss in detail also about this. So there was two clarification. Days is not need to be continuous. The second was day of departure and the day of arrival will be considered as in India. Okay. Now moving further, we have some special conditions also. These were the basic condition. Now we have the special condition also. So what we will do, we will discuss the special condition after a short break of 10 minutes. So Mr. Bhargav, can we take a short break? Okay. Resume the class. Welcome everyone. I welcome you all. I hope you all must have your tea, coffee, etc. to energize yourself as I did. So we were discussing the provisions of residential status. Let me take the query, then there will be a story, and then we will proceed further. Okay, Yashwani sir, will this PDF be shared? Yes, I will upload this PDF after the class. So after 3-4 hours, you will be able to download the PDF of residential status. Clear? Good. Kiran Kumar sir, in which year ROR, RNOR concept introduced? Like this kind of question, what does it means? And how I would be able to remember that in which year this has been introduced. So whatever is in present, do not think about the past, do not worry for the future. Stay in present. Whatever we are discussing, just try to understand the provision. That's it. Okay. Special conditions or additional conditions are different. So there were basic condition. Then we will discuss the special or additional. So special and additional conditions are same, exactly the same thing. Okay. Last surcharge chart is not uploaded. The PDF file what I've uploaded on I guess 4th of October, I guess, it is including the surcharge chart. You have to do some hard work, scroll it completely. You will find the surcharge chart at the end of those PDF also. Okay. So now there is story time, a very interesting story, and story will be in Hindi, of course. I'll try to merge Hindi with English, so both will able to understand. Okay. So there was a small village, एक बहुत छोटा सा गांव था, और in that small village there was a very small house in which a small young girl was living with her parents and younger sister and brothers. So उस जो बच्ची छोटे से गांव में रहती थी उसको पढ़ने का बहुत शौक था, और उसके घर से बहुत दूर एक स्कूल था, वेरी फार. So she used to complete the housework, etc., help her parents in work, and take care of her younger brother and sister. And after that, she usually get late every day. So she used to running and reach the school on time. So she used to run every day to reach the school on time. तो वो बहुत तेज भाग कर जाती थी. Then again she come back. फिर जब प्राइमरी स्कूल से थोड़ा सा बड़ा स्कूल हुआ तो वो और दूर था उसके घर से, उसको और तेज भागना होता था, और तेज आना होता था. सो इन दिस प्रोसेस हर रनिंग इज रियली इम्प्रूव्ड एंड शी स्टार्ट पार्टिसिपेटिंग इन स्पोर्टिंग एक्टिविटीज ऑफ हर स्कूल. क्लियर? तो जो स्पोर्ट्स टीचर थे, दे रियलाइज दैट शी इज सो फास्ट दैट इन सम केसेस शी बीट्स द बॉयज ऑल्सो. So they encourage her to represent their village and their then district and their state in future sporting events. So वो स्पोर्ट्स में रनिंग में इतनी अच्छी थी कि उसने अपनी पहले विलेज को रिप्रेजेंट करा, देन अपनी डिस्ट्रिक्ट को, देन अपने स्टेट को, एंड देन शी was the first one to represent. She was the first girl to represent her country also. There was a very old story it is. So there was type of a marathon race what she was participating. तो एक इंटरनेशनल मैराथन रेस चैंपियनशिप हो रही थी, वर्ल्ड मैराथन रेस, एंड वाज लाइक 20 किलोमीटर मैराथन इन विच शी wants to participate and she participated. एंड जो मैराथन था उसका एक प्रोसेस था उस टाइम पर. जो स्टेडियम था वहां से रनिंग स्टार्ट होती थी, एंड स्टेडियम के बाहर जाने के बाद जो 10 पार्टिसिपेंट्स थे, जो 10 प्लेयर्स थे, उन सबके रूट अलग हो जाते थे. सो दे आर नॉट एबल टू सी ईच अदर आफ्टर गेटिंग आउट फ्रॉम द स्टेडियम. तो स्टेडियम से बाहर जाने के बाद उन सबके ट्रैक अलग हो जाता था, और वो जो ट्रैक था वो ऐसे थे कि सेम लेंथ के थे, बट nobody can see each other. And then when they will come back into that near that stadium, they will again merge with each other. तो स्टेडियम से जब आप बाहर जाएंगे उसके थोड़ी देर बाद आपको कोई दिखाई नहीं देगा. फिर जब आप लौट कर आएंगे अपना कंप्लीट करके रन, तब जब स्टेडियम में एंटर होने वाले होंगे तब सिर्फ आपको पार्टिसिपेंट दिख सकते. सो रेस स्टार्टेड एंड शी स्टार्ट रनिंग वेरी हार्ड. She put all her effort in that running. And then रनिंग जब ट्रैक कंप्लीट होके शी वाज अबाउट टू मर्ज इन दैट स्टेडियम, शी अबाउट टू एंटर इनटू द स्टेडियम, वापस से स्टेडियम में आने वाली थी, देन शी रियलाइज के उसके बाकी जो ट्रैक्स हैं जो भी वहां मर्ज हो रहे हैं, देयर वाज नो कंटेस्टेंट वाज देयर, नॉट इन फ्रंट ऑफ हर एनीवन, नॉट बिहाइंड हर, नॉट विद हर। तो दो रीजन हो सकते हैं, either she is the last one or she is the first one, and she was very nervous because she was participating first time। इतने सारे लोगों की एक्सपेक्टेशंस थी उससे, उसके पूरे कंट्री एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा था कि शायद हमारी कंट्री को कभी कोई पहला मेडल मिलेगा इतनी बड़ी चैंपियनशिप में। एंड शी वाज अबाउट टू क्राई दैट व्हाट एग्जैक्टली, वहां से अनाउंसमेंट होता था जब भी किसी कंट्री का कोई पार्टिसिपेंट स्टेडियम में एंटर हो, एंड शी स्टार्ट लिसनिंग दैट अनाउंसमेंट, और उसमें जो कंट्री थी सबके नाम एक एक करके अनाउंस हुए, बट उसकी कंट्री का नाम अनाउंस नहीं हुआ। So she came to know that she's the last one in that race. And at that point of time, she think कि मुझे ये रेस छोड़ देनी चाहिए, I should quit, because आप सब लोग कितना मजाक बनाएंगे कि मैं लास्ट आई, इतनी मेहनत की मैंने। तो she was about to quit, but she decided to run. She thought, no, I will complete my race, and she gave all her power in that running, the last lap of that race, and she entered into the stadium. एंड शी सो जहां वो फिनिश लाइन है वहां पर सेरेमनी भी स्टार्ट हो गई है मेडल्स देने की, एंड शी वाज मोर डिप्रेस्ड एट दैट टाइम, बट शी स्टिल कंटिन्यू टू रन। एंड आफ्टर रनिंग व्हेन शी क्रॉस दैट फिनिश लाइन, शी रियलाइज एवरीवन इन द स्टेडियम स्टार्ट standing up and clapping for her. And you know what happened? She was the winner. She was the first one who entered and finished that line. So what the name was announced and the just ceremony was happening. That ceremony और वो जो announcement था वो उससे पहले जिन लोगों की रेस हुई थी उनके लिए हो रहा था, और वो शॉर्ट मैराथन, and she thought वो उसके वाले मैराथन के लिए हो रहा है, और she was the winner. So the most important thing is that you should continue your journey with best effort. No competition to your friends. Maybe आपसे कुछ पहले लोग सीए बन सकते हैं, कुछ बाद में, कुछ साथ में, बट आपको अपना बेस्ट देना है। एंड यू नो व्हाट इज द नेम ऑफ दैट गर्ल? एनीबडी, एनी वन ऑफ यू नो व्हाट इज द नेम ऑफ दैट गर्ल? Anyone who know the name of that girl? I want to see if anyone know that name of that girl who represent her country and won the championship like this. Very famous. You must know the name of that girl. You must heard the name, I believe, in your life at some point of time. And the name? Nobody knows. Okay, very interesting. Okay, somebody saying PT Usha, PT Usha, PT Usha. P. Kiran Kumar, Ms. Shruti is saying PT Usha, Mr. Mallappa is saying, Mr. Dilip is saying PT Usha. No. This name could be your name. Might be Shruti, it might be Ankit Sharma. तो ये भी रियल स्टोरी है ही नहीं, बट ये टेक्निकली एक रियल स्टोरी। ये स्टोरी मैंने ही बनाई है, आपने इससे पहले कभी सुनी भी नहीं होगी। लास्ट सेशन में मैंने बच्चों को सुनाई थी खुद से बनाकर। इट्स मोर डिफिकल्ट टू फ्रेम दिस काइंड ऑफ स्टोरी टू मोटिवेट यू rather being teaching you the provisions. ये रियल स्टोरी हम सबकी है लाइफ की, इसमें किसी का नाम नहीं है, ये सबके नाम के लिए। तो जब आप अपना ये सीए कोर्स की रेस कर रहे हैं तो माइट बी यू शुड नॉट फील द प्रेशर ऑफ कंपटीशन इफ somebody is going to be a CA before you or after you. मे बी आपकी फैमिली में से किसी ने कोर्स नहीं किया है तो प्रेशर ज्यादा होगा, लोग एक्सपेक्ट आपसे बहुत करेंगे। वो एक्सपेक्टेशन होने के बाद चाहे कुछ भी हो, डू नॉट लीव दिस कोर्स, जस्ट गिव योर बेस्ट, लेटर और सूनर यू विल बी अ सीए। तो यहाँ फर्स्ट आने का, लास्ट आने का कोई तरीका नहीं, यहाँ सिर्फ है आपको ये फिनिश लाइन क्रॉस करनी। एंड जब वो अपना बेस्ट एफर्ट देते हैं ना बिना प्रेशर के, दैट इज आवर द बेस्ट विनिंग अपॉर्चुनिटीज आल्सो इन दैट एफर्ट। सो दैट वाज द स्टोरी। सो लेट्स गेट बैक टू द वर्क। वी वर डिस्कसिंग द प्रोविजन, वी हैव डिस्कस्ड द बेसिक कंडीशन, एंड नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू discuss the additional or special cases. So there are some special cases also, there are some additional cases also. So condition A is applicable to every individual. We need to check both condition If any one of this is satisfied, you will be a resident. Clear? If nothing is going to be satisfied, no condition is going to be satisfied, you will be a non-resident directly. But now we have some special condition, additional condition also. What is these additional condition? Let me show you. Or we can call it special condition. Now the condition says, condition number 1, it is for individual who is a citizen of India. So this benefit can be only taken by an individual who is a citizen of India. So that's why we discussed the citizenship definition earlier. Because if we would not have discussed it earlier, then we have to discuss what is the meaning of citizenship in this case. And that would be a difficult case. Just a second. So because we have already discussed the citizenship meaning, what we have just discussed. So now we know what is the meaning of citizenship. So this condition is only applicable on individual, those are citizen of India. And it says if you are an individual and citizen of India, and if you are going outside India. So this special case will be applicable only for individuals, those are citizen of India, and those are going outside India for employment, or permanently. So if any individual who is a citizen of India and going outside India for employment or as an employee of an Indian ship, that means as a crew member of an Indian ship. So if any individual who is a citizen of India going outside India, either for employment purpose or as an employee of an Indian ship. So technically the intention is to go outside India permanently, because if you are going outside India for employment purpose, for job purpose, that means you want to settle there. So if you are a citizen and you are fulfilling any one of these conditions, so what will happen? In that case, you will be considered as a resident only if you satisfy condition number 1 of basic condition. This one. You will be a resident if you are in India for 182 days or more in previous year. Second condition would not be checked. So we can say these additional cases are also exception of condition number 2. Or we can understand it in this manner that if you are an individual, citizen of India, going outside India for employment or as a crew member of an Indian ship, then you will be considered as a resident only if you satisfy condition number 1, that is 182 days or more. So if you do not satisfy that condition, you will be called a non-resident. Let me show you with the help of an example. Suppose Mr. A citizen of India, and this benefit is only for citizen of India, not for person of Indian origin. Citizen of India going outside India on 1st June 2024 for employment purpose. So Mr. A citizen of India going outside India on 1st June 2024 for employment purpose. He is going first time outside India. So before that time, he was in India always. Now, he is a citizen. So he is fulfilling this condition. He is going outside India for employment. So he is fulfilling this condition also. So that means now he will be called a resident if he satisfy only condition number 1. That is more than equal to 182 days in India. So because he is going on 1st of June. So that means he was in India April 30 days, May 31 days, and the day of departure we will consider as in India. So June 1st will also treat as in India. So he is in India for 62 days in this previous year. So he did not satisfy condition number 1. Even he is fulfilling condition number 2 because he is in India 62 days plus more than 365 days also fulfilled. But this is not applicable. So if you are a citizen of India going outside India for employment or as a crew member of an Indian ship, then only first condition 182 days would be checked. And because in this example, Mr. A is only in India for 62 days, so he does not fulfill condition number 1. So that will be called a non-resident. And let me tell you, as I told you in the starting of this lecture, that being a non-resident is a better option for the purpose of tax. So if you are a resident, that is not a good news in prospect of paying tax in India. So this is a benefit condition. Suppose, let's talk about myself. I am C. Ankit Sharma. Suppose I was going on 1st of June outside India permanently. 1st June 2024, I was leaving India permanently, suppose. So I am also a citizen of India and going outside India for employment purpose permanently. So in that case, upon me also, only first condition could be checked, that is 182 days. And because I am not fulfilling it, so what will happen? In that case, I would be treated as a non-resident. So if you fall in additional category or special condition, then only first condition will be checked, that is 182 days. Second condition is not applicable. So there are more chances of you being a non-resident. Suppose if this additional benefit was not there, then both conditions should be checked. And in second condition, I would be a resident if I am going to outside India on 1st June. But because the special provision, now I would be treated as a non-resident, and that will help to minimize my tax liability. How it will help to minimize tax liability, that we will discuss in section 9 and 5, incidence of tax, etc. So that was the first special condition. Now we have second special condition also. So first special condition was for those persons, those are leaving India. Those are going outside India. So the benefit has been given to those persons, those are individual citizen and going outside India, permanent intention, employment or crew member of an Indian ship. If in the question it has been mentioned, it has been given that Mr. A is going on 1/6/2024 for only traveling purpose outside India, not for employment. Then both conditions should be checked. Mr. A is going outside India for some medical reason. Both conditions should be checked. Mr. going outside India as a crew member of a foreign ship, not Indian ship, crew member of a foreign ship. In that case, both conditions should be checked. So all points should be satisfied. Citizen outside India, employment, Indian ship, and permanent intention. In that case only condition 1 will be checked to become a resident or not. So that is additional condition number 1. Now we are on to additional condition number 2. Now this is for individual, of course. And this benefit is allowed to citizen of India as well as person of Indian origin. Remember, the first benefit is not for person of Indian origin. If in the example it has been written that Mr. A is a person of Indian origin, leaving India first time on 1st June 2024 for employment. In that case, both conditions should be checked. And as per second condition, he would be a resident. But in first case, only citizen included. But in the second special case, the benefit is with both, whether you are a citizen or you are a person of Indian origin. Now it says if you are an individual and citizen or person of Indian origin and you are coming back India. Now you are coming to India. So these are for those individuals who generally reside outside India. Like our relative, cousin, if our some relative or cousin who have settled outside India and they used to visit India on Diwali, etc., or like any marriage purpose, etc. So first is for those reside in India and now leaving India permanently. The second condition is opposite. Those who reside outside India and coming India only for visit. Only for visit. Whether it's a business visit or whether it's a personal visit, does not matter. Who is just coming India for visit. That means temporary purpose. If it has been written in the question that somebody is coming back India permanently, leaving outside India, now they are going to settle in India, then this exception will not apply. So if any individual, citizen of India, या फिर POI or India, coming to India for visit purpose, in that case also, for residential purpose, only condition one will be checked, whether he or she is in India for equal to or more than 182 days. So if it does not satisfy, then he or she would be treated as a non-resident. Let me discuss an example with you. Suppose Mr. B, who is a person of Indian origin, reside outside India. Or let me take, suppose Mrs. Priyanka Chopra, fine, she reside outside India. So citizenship outside India, but she is a person of Indian origin. So suppose she visited India for someone marriage, or she visited India to visit some monuments, etc. So for that purpose, she would be treated as a resident in India only if she is satisfying condition number 182 days or more. So if she is not satisfying this condition, she would be called a non-resident. Even if she stay in India for 100 days in this year and more than 365 days in last 4 preceding previous year, still she would not be treated as a resident. First condition would be applicable only in this situation. Clear? Now let me give you an example in detail. So we will analyze both the condition. Question number 1, suppose example 1. Mr. A citizen of India, goes outside India for visit on 10th June 2024 and came back to India on 1st March 2025. So he was going outside India first time. So you need to find out the residential status. Whenever there is a question regarding individual, to find out the residential status, it's my suggestion, always check whether it is a special case or it's a basic case. Whether it does fall under additional or special conditions or it does fall under a basic condition case. So under special condition, individual is correct, citizenship is correct, but he is going for visit. So he should be going outside India for employment or a crew of an Indian ship. So this example does not belong to the exception case. That means both conditions should be applicable, more than 1 equal to 182 days in India. Or second is more than equal to 60 days in India in previous year, plus more than equal to 365 days in 4 preceding previous year. Now, according to the question, let's find out how many days he was in India in previous year 24-25. He leaves India on 10th of June. So in April, May and June 10th, he was in India. And he came back on 1st of March. So first will be including. So March would be 31 days and first will be including. So 31 days full of March will be considered. So total 102 days he was in India in this year. So he does not satisfy this condition, but second will be applicable upon him. And as per second condition, 102 days in India. And because he was going first time outside India, so all 4 previous year, all days he was in India. That means previous year 23-24, previous year 22-23, previous year 21-22, and previous year 20-21. So in this year, he would be in 366 days. Remember, this is a leap year. Okay, so you have to take 366 days, 365 days, 365 days, 365 days. So, because he is satisfying both condition of second condition, so he would be called a resident in India. Suppose if I change visit, in place of visit, I change for employment. If it is for employment, then automatically condition 2 will be not applicable. And because he is only for 102 days, so condition 1 is not fulfilled, so he would be called a non-resident. Clear? Okay, moving on to the notes, because now we have a third condition also, special third condition that we will discuss after the basic condition of what we till now has been studied from the chart presentation. So, residential status of an individual, section 6.1 says an individual who fulfill any of the following basic condition will be regarded as resident in India for the relevant previous year. So, first condition exactly same. If he is in India during the previous year for a period of 182 days or more. We have already gone through with this in the chart. Or if he is in India during the previous year for 60 days or more and was in India for a period of 365 days or more in 4 years preceding to that previous year. Clear? Already discussed everything. But there are some exceptions. Now moving on to the exception part. There are some exception to condition number 2. That is more than 60 and 365, because in some cases this condition will be not applicable, and these are our special cases, additional condition. That means in following cases an individual will be resident in India if he satisfy condition 1 only. That means in special cases you will be called a resident only if you satisfied 182-day condition. So the case number 1, special case number 1 is there. If you are an individual, a citizen of India, leaves India during the previous year, a member of a crew of an Indian ship, or for employment purpose outside India, that means the intention should be permanent. So in this case, only condition will need to be fulfilled. That is 182 days or more, otherwise he or she would be a non-resident. Case number 2 we discussed. Individual being, now this benefit is for Indian citizen and a person of Indian origin both. Comes on India to visit, temporary intention. Only condition 1 need to be fulfilled, otherwise he or she will be non-resident. Clear? Now condition 3 left, but before that, let's also discuss one more example. Let's make it more interesting for you. Now I am asking a question and you all have to answer it. Okay. Suppose there is Mrs. A who is a foreign citizen, Mrs. A, who is a person of Indian origin, reside in USA. She comes to India for visit on 1st January 2025 for 200 days and left India after 200 days. Now you have to find the residential status of Mrs. A for assessment year 25-26. You have time? So question is simple. Mrs. A, person of Indian origin, reside in USA, comes to India for visit purpose on 1st January 2025 for 200 days and left India after 200 days. So you have to answer the residential status of Mrs. A for assessment year 25-26. Okay. Tejaswin is saying moral of the story, race is not finished until I cross finish line. Correct. Bhavna, normal case because not come but got outside India. Okay. Dilip is saying Mrs. A is a resident. Sania is saying non-resident. Okay. Bhavna is saying resident in India. I'm waiting for more answers, of course. Answer either be non-resident or resident, of course. Mahalakshmi is saying previous preceding 4 years continues, or if in 4 years there is a gap of 1 year, then no, 4 previous preceding year continuation. I've also given the example when I taught that condition, 4 continuous preceding previous year, no gap is there. Okay, Shruti is saying resident. Ambeshwari is saying non-resident. Resident. Arun is saying for assessment year 25 and to why he was not for 182 days. Mahalakshmi is saying more than 182 days. So resident. Astha is saying resident. Tejaswin is non-resident. Dinanath is saying non-resident. Okay. Sharini is saying non-resident. Resident. Neha is saying. Nayan Patel is saying only 60 days in previous year. Vayakanta Vasu Manayana is saying non-resident. Komal is saying non-resident. So the correct answer is non-resident. So this case falls under a special category of case because she is a person of Indian origin. She comes for visit. So technically this case belongs to the special condition. So in this case, she would be called a resident only if she fulfill this condition. 182 days in previous year 2024 and 25. Clear? That was the case. That should be the for previous year 2024 and 25. So of course she comes for 200 days, but student, you should see when she came to India on 1st January 2025, and we need to see that she should be in India up to 31st March. 25 days can be considered only for this 182 condition because we need to find out how many days in previous year 24-25. So for 200 days, she was in India for January full 31 days, then February 28, then March 31. So technically out of those 200 days, she was in India for only 90 days. So remaining 110 days, she is in India, but that is not previous year 24-25. For 25-26, she is in India for 110 days. And again, in that year also, she need to fulfill 182 days condition, and this year also. So that condition does not fulfill in this year, not as well as in this year. So she is a non-resident for assessment year 25-26 as well as in assessment year 26-27. So please remember, do not focus on the days, but please also understand that these days should fall in our previous year 24-25, which is not so. If I have written like this, that she comes on visit on 1st July 2024 for 200 days, then she would be a resident because the 200 days will be fall in this previous year 24-25. So I believe you must understood that you have to read the question very cautiously and you have to apply the provision with more. Okay. So moving on to our third condition. This is really interesting condition also. So we have gone through with the two basic condition. Now condition number 3. Now condition 3, if you will see with the help of the notes, you will find it out very complicated. That how a such person having total income other than income so and so excluding 50, exceeding 15 lakh, etc. So this condition, if you will going through to understand with the help of the language, it would be really difficult. But when we will solve it with the help of diagram, and if after that you will read it from the notes, you will feel it very easy, very simple. So condition 3 is also for individuals in my opinion, because this condition has been inserted like I guess 2 or 3 years back. And those above 1 and 2 conditions are very old. Actually, I will also read the same condition in 2001 first time. So at least 24 years, these are old condition. But this condition number 3 is recently added up, like 3-4 years back. So for the purpose of examination, those provisions are more important. Those are recently added. So please focus on this condition. This is for individual, citizen, oblique person of Indian origin. But now there's some additional condition has been added. So any individual who is citizen or person of Indian origin coming India to visit. So till now it is same. No difference between second and third. But now there's been difference. Now it says coming to visit, but if that individual having earned more than 15 lakh rupees income from Indian source of income, from Indian sources. When income would be considered as Indian sources, that is a topic we will discuss under section 9.1 under this chapter only. Income arises in India, income accrue in India, income earned in India, income deemed to arise. So what is the meaning of Indian sources? That is going to be discussed in detail. So we just need to understand these points are exactly same as per our condition. But if that person earned more than 15 lakh rupees income from Indian sources in the previous year, then to find out the residential status, condition 1 would be the same, more than 182 days. That person, this is specifically for third category of person. For first person who is leaving India, only 182-day condition is applicable. The person coming into India for visit, 182 days condition is applicable, but for those individual person, those are fulfilling these condition and this also. Having more than 15 lakh income from Indian resources. For that person, conditions will be this. First is same, 182 days in India in previous year. So either he or she will satisfy this, so he or she would be a resident, same as above cases. But now for that individual, for that third category of individual, one more additional condition should be checked. So for other special cases, only one condition need to be checked. But for these cases, there are two conditions need to be checked. First one is exactly the same as the other conditions. The second is like this, more than equal to, it is almost same as the normal basic same condition. More than equal to 120 days in India. So it was 60 days for basic, but it has been changed to 120 days for only this category of person. 120 days in India in previous year, plus same condition, more than equal to 365 days in 4 preceding previous year in India. So for special condition number 1, only one condition was there. Special condition number 2, only one condition was there. But special condition number 3, we have two conditions, same one, and it is almost same. Only in place of 60, there is 120 days. So suppose if there is Mr. A who visit India who comes to India for visit, he is a person of Indian origin having, suppose two cases, 10 lakh rupees Indian source income. Then only condition 182 days would be applicable to find out whether he or she is a resident or not. But if the income is suppose 18 lakh rupees, now it's more than 15 lakh. In that case, two conditions should be checked, more than 1 equal to 182 days or more than equal to 120 days plus more than equal to 365 days. So the third person is more important in my opinion because it is a multiple condition also, and it is already recently added like 3-4 years back. So it will become it more interesting also. So that was the person, that was third condition what we were discussing. So let's discuss this. Now we'll see the language is so much complicated that if you would not have understand this point number 3 in this way, so it would be really difficult to understand what exactly X want to say. Now we listen what X want to explain in its language. Now you can see case number 3 is for that category of person. Now it says, however, such persons means case 2 person. Case 2, that was individual, citizen or POIO coming for visit. Till that, it is equivalent to case number 2. Having total income other than the income from foreign resources. Other than the foreign resources. That means income from Indian resources. Accrue arise outside India, except income from a business control or profession set up in India and which is not deemed to accrue arise in India. So if there is any income, if we earn income which is exceeding 15 lakh rupees, and that is an income which is covered under the income earned as per Indian sources, that accrue arise we will discuss in detail. During the previous year will be treated as resident in India. In other words, if such person following basic condition will be applied and not above basic condition number 1 and 2. So for that purpose, person, we have to check the 182 days condition, and the special second condition is for same 120 days in the previous year and 365 days in 4 preceding previous year. Exactly same condition, only 120 has been replaced at the place of 60 days. You must have seen how interesting this case number 3 was. I hope it's clear. The term India definition is there. It is not necessary that the period of stay must be continuous. That we have already discussed. Period of stay, continuation, there is no condition. For the purpose of continuing counting the number of days stay in India, I have explained the day of departure and the day of arrival would be considered as stay in India. We have discussed that provision. Before going through the special provision, let us solve some question from your study material. So that would be really easy for you to understand the provision in detail. So illustration number 1 and 2 we are going to discuss. 1 is already in the notes, the special provision for those crew members. It's there. We will discuss this illustration number 1 from the notes. So we are discussing from illustration number 2. Okay. Okay, so somebody is asking. Okay, non-resident, Ritika Gupta. Okay, fine. So illustration number 2. Now read it carefully. Illustration 2 says, Bratley, an Australian cricketer. Look, I have told you already. Please, whenever you're reading the question, please identify whether it belongs to the special condition case or it's a basic condition case. So Bratley, an Australian cricketer. So that means he's not a citizen of India, not a person of Indian origin yet. So if you are not a citizen, not a person of Indian origin, that's a good news. That means you fall in basic condition provision. No extra headache to you. So Australian cricketer player visit India for 100 days in every financial year. This has been his practice for the past 10 financial years. Find out his residential status for the assessment year 25-26. Okay, so if you'll see, if we need to find out whether he is a resident or not, so both conditions would be applicable, 1 and 2 both. And the question says he comes to India for 100 days in every financial year. So for previous year 24-25, he would be in India for 100 days. The first condition was you should be in India for 182 days or more. So he is not satisfying this condition. So now we will check second condition because he is not a POIO, not a citizen, so no benefit of special condition. Second condition, which says in short that you should be in India for 60 days plus more than equal to 365 days in 4 preceding previous year. So he comes to India for 100 days every year. So this 100 days condition will be applicable. So it is more than 60. This part has been satisfied. And for 4 preceding year, because he comes to India for 100 days every year. So total in last 4 preceding previous year, he would have been in India for 400 days. So that is more than 365 days. So technically he fulfilled both sub condition of condition number 2. So he would be called a resident in India. Understood? So that's how we need to find out the residential status. This question is going to be further also in the sub classification category of resident and ordinary resident and resident and not ordinary resident. But that part we did not discuss yet. So we will discuss that part when we complete the provision of resident and ordinary resident, etc. Clear? Before that, moving on to the chart. So in this diagram, in this chart presentation, we have discussed the provision of becoming a resident, normal resident, and a deemed resident. Do not confuse it as a non-resident. It's a normal resident. Okay. So for normal resident, there are 2 categories. Either you will fall in the basic condition category. In that case, you have to fulfill any of them. Either you will be form part of additional special conditions, in which if you will fall in category 1, you need to fulfill only one condition. If category 2, you need to fulfill only one condition. But if you fall in category 3, then again there are 2 conditions. One is exactly same, 182 days. Second is also exactly same. That's a day of 120 has been substituted in place of 60 days. Now what is deemed resident? Under section 6(1)(a), what is a deemed resident? So the provision says if there is an individual who reside outside India, individual who is a citizen of India. This benefit is only for citizen of India. It has been explained. Each and everything has been explained in the diagram. You do not need to bother about it. We have explained each and everything in the diagram. You can see deemed resident, normal, general condition, special condition, everything I explained in detail. Clear? So the provision says, back to the chart. So if there is any individual who is a citizen of India, clear? So special POI will not get the benefit of being a deemed resident. So an individual who is a citizen of India but residing outside India. So he does not have the citizenship of other country. He is still having the citizenship of Indian country, but he residing outside India. So any individual who is a citizen of India, residing outside India, and having, very interesting thing, and having total income of exceeding 15 lakh rupees from Indian sources. Exactly same as we discussed in third point. Indian resources and does not pay tax on that income anywhere in the world. So if you are an individual who is a citizen of India but residing outside India and having a total income exceeding 15 lakh rupees in previous year, on which you did not pay tax anywhere in this world. Suppose you are residing in USA and you are not paying tax on that income in USA, not even in India. So we will consider you as a deemed resident. This is a very new concept. So if you are a citizen of India. Suppose I am a citizen of India. Okay, I got an opportunity to move into another country. So suppose I have left India and I am shifting into Dubai permanently. Employment purpose. I went outside India for employment purpose in Dubai, etc. And I am residing there permanently. But my citizenship does not change yet. Citizenship needs some time to change because in Dubai you might be called a citizen after 6 years or 7 years. Until that time, you will continue to be the citizen of India. Permanent address would be India in your passport. So you are residing there, but it would that your citizenship is still belongs to India. And suppose I am earning more than 15 lakh rupees from Indian resources. I have some business in India, I have some other activities in India. So I am earning some income out of that Indian sources and not paying tax on that income in Dubai as well, not in India. So even if I am coming to India or not, it does not matter. In section 61A, there is no concept of visit. You can see I have nowhere I have written that you comes to visit. No. In all other cases, there is a requirement of visit. Even in B case, third point, it looks like similar, but they have different. In B point, third case, there is a benefit for citizen as well as person of Indian origin, both included. And their visit is mandatory. The visit is mandatory. But in section 61A, only citizen has been included. Person of Indian origin does not include it. And there is no visit required. But the condition should be you should be a citizen of India and you have income exceeding 15 lakh rupees on which you have not paid tax anywhere. Then you will be directly assumed as deemed resident under section 61A. So only deemed resident is a situation in which the individual does not need to visit India at all. You would be treated automatically as a deemed resident if you have citizenship of India and you are earning more than 15 lakh rupees income from Indian sources, which is not paid tax anywhere in the world. So that would be a deemed resident. So you can see how interesting provisions are there for individual, and we have not completed yet. We have just come almost 60-70 part of the individual residential status. There are more yet to come. There are more yet to come. Just wait for it. So we have the theoretical provision for this concept. Deemed resident. You can see there is the theoretical provision. An individual being an Indian citizen having income other than the income from foreign sources, etc. So you can see only citizen has been included over here. Only citizen, no POIO, and there is no requirement for the visit also there. No requirement of visit. So either you are visiting India or not visiting India, it does not matter. You would be treated as a deemed resident. Let me show you with the help of this chart now. So this chart consists each and everything. You can see section wise if we discuss, then section 6.1 normal case, general individual cases, basic condition more than 182 or more than 60 and 365 days. Clear? Then we have special cases, individual citizen going outside India for employment, crew member, only 182 condition is applicable. Point number 2 cases, individual citizen POIO comes to India for visit. More than equal to 182 days condition only applicable. The third is the special cases, individual citizen POIO comes to India for visit having total income exceeding 15 lakh from Indian resources. Then he will be resident if more than 182 days or 120 and 365 days condition fulfill. Then we discuss citizen of India, reside outside India, comes to visit or not, does not matter. If he or she comes to visit, days irrelevant. Having total income exceeding 15 lakh, Indian resources on which tax has not been paid anywhere, days irrelevant. Then it will be called deemed resident. So till now, provision we have discussed, but it is not completed yet. Now the second part is there to discuss. What is this? Let me discuss it with you. Okay. Before that, let me see if there's any query. Ritika is saying maybe Indian citizen residing outside India collecting rent from the property they own in India. Yes, might be. There could be any kind of income. If you are earning income from Indian resources, then point number B, third case, or in case of deemed resident, you might fall. Okay. Okay, next is why income exceed business profession control in India. That we will discuss when we will discuss the provision under section 9.1. What is the meaning of income arises, deemed to arise, etc. If we will start discussing that concept over here, then it would be a problem for all of us to understand the complete provision. I will take that query in that time. Purva is asking, sir, the Vijay Mallya be considered deemed resident? Oh my God. I do not know the condition. If he is satisfying that condition, if he is still citizen, if he has earning income from Indian sources on which he is not paying tax, then he would be a deemed resident. Okay. Let's move on to further. So we have covered the individual concept of being non-resident. If you did not satisfy condition of being resident, then automatically you will be called a non-resident. Fine. Then we discuss the provision of being a resident, in which case there were normal resident provision, section 6.1, and we also discussed the deemed resident concept. So under normal, either you would be a resident as per basic conditions or as per additional or special condition. There were three cases, 1, 2, or 3. Basic condition was A, additional condition was B. It was having three cases, 1, 2, or 3. In 1 or 2, only 182-day condition will be applicable for becoming a resident. For 3, it was 182-day condition, or that was 120 days plus 365 days condition. Clear? And for here, we know that is more than 182-day condition there, or it was more than equal to 60 plus 365 days condition. So till here, we have discussed the provision. Even that we have discussed that deemed resident meaning if you have Indian source income and tax has not been paid on it and income exceeding the 15 lakh, then it would be a deemed resident. Now moving on further, things are going to be more interesting. So if you become resident, whether as a normal resident, whether as a deemed resident, so if you become resident and as per case number A or B, so if you become resident, whether under A case or B case, then now we have to find out the further classification as we discussed or just saw in the HUF category. Your question will not end. Your solution will not end. If you find somebody is resident, if somebody is non-resident, that is your answer. But if in case of individual, if you are a resident as per condition number A or B or a deemed resident, then your answer will solve further. We have sub-classification also. And the sub-classification, I just show the glimpse of that in HUF category. In that category, we have seen that the resident have sub-classification whether he or she would be resident and ordinary resident, or he or she would be resident, not ordinary resident. A good news is deemed resident will always be, fixed rule, always be resident and not ordinary resident. So we do not need to learn anything for deemed resident. There is no condition. This is fixed. Deemed resident would always be treated as resident and not ordinary resident. So technically, deemed resident part has been completed because this is a fixed rule. But now we need to find out, in case of A or B, whether you are a normal resident, whether you are a resident and ordinary resident, or whether you are a resident and not ordinary resident. Now here is the provisions. It says, for being resident and not ordinary resident, if you belongs to case A, basic condition, or if you belongs to case B, condition 1, condition 2, then we have separate provision. And if you belong to the special condition of case number B, third case, that 120 days and 365 days, we have a special provision. So either you will fall in this case, either you would be a resident due to this provision, or you would have been a resident as per this provision. So if you would have been a resident as per case A or B, 1 or 2, then you will be called a non-resident. You will be called a resident and not ordinary resident. What we are searching? We are searching whether you are a resident or not ordinary resident, or whether you are a resident and ordinary resident. So if you are becoming a resident as per case A or case number B, 1 or 2 condition, then you would be treated as a resident and not ordinary resident if you satisfy any one of the 2 conditions. So if you become a resident as per case A or B1 or B2, then to becoming a resident or not ordinary resident, either you have to fulfill condition number 1 or you need to fulfill condition number 2. If you do not able to fulfill any of those conditions, you would be treated as resident and ordinary resident. Clear what we are going to do? So if you are a resident as per case A, B, first or second condition, then we have to check these 2 conditions. If you fulfill any of it, you would be a resident and not ordinary resident. And if you not able to fulfill any of these 2 conditions, then you would be a resident and ordinary resident. So we have now multiple questions. MCQ will be discussed in the first in the starting of the next session. Okay. So what is the first condition? The condition first says that if you are a resident as per case A, B, first or second point, then if you are in India less than 730 days, less than 730 days, if you are in India less than 730 days, in 7 preceding previous year. I know there are multiple conditions. You might be thinking, what is this happening? There are permutation, combination, condition. But let me tell you, this is the fact of the numerical topics. When you learn the provision for a numerical topic, it always feel that what exactly is happening, you might not able to catch the all of it. But once we will complete the provision, and then when we will start solving the numerical provision, you will be able to understand the concept and you will realize that it is a very simple provision. Just days we need to calculate. What exactly we are doing? Nothing. Same condition running from starting. 182 days, 60 or 365. 182 days रहेगी या 182 एक बार और या फिर 182 and 120. That's it. So we just learning these days. From over here, it is going to be end. So this is the last resident and not ordinary resident concept is the last of individual residential status provision. So after this, the individual provision would be end. So the first condition says that if you are in India, if you are a resident, as per the provision, you became a resident. And if you are in India for less than 730 days in India in 7 preceding previous year. Understand, the previous year 24-25 does not consider, because we just need to see for how many days he was in India in 7 preceding previous year. So our previous year is 24-25. We do not consider days of this year. We need 7 preceding previous year. So that means 23-24, 22-23, 21-22, 20-21, 19-20, 18-19, 17-18. So that was 7 years. So in these 7 years, if he or she was in India for less than 730 days, less than 730 means not even 730. It should be 729 or less. So if he or she is in India for less than 730 days in 7 preceding previous year, so condition 1 would be fulfilled, and we will consider that person as a resident and not ordinary resident. And that would be my answer. You need not to check condition number 2. Let me give you an example. The example we discussed about the Bratley. So that was a question that Bratley was coming India for 100 days every year. From last 15 years. And he was a foreign citizen, not an Indian citizen. Citizen outside India. Clear? So in that case, both condition would have applicable. Illustration number 2, we solved it. So 182 condition does not fulfill. But condition number 2 would be fulfilled. More than equal to 60 plus more than equal to 365. So you can see in previous year he was in India 100 and in 4 year he was in 400. So both fulfill, he would have been considered as resident. But the answer would not end. Now we need to check whether he is a resident and ordinary resident and a resident or not ordinary resident. So he became resident as per basic condition. So now we will check. The first condition for becoming resident and not ordinary resident is less than 730 days in 7 PPY. So the question says he comes to India for 100 days every year. So technically in 7 preceding previous year, how many days he must have been in India? Of course, 700 days. And whether 700 is less than 730 or more? Course less than 730. So Bratley is fulfilling condition number 1. So condition 1 fulfilled. So he would be said a resident and not ordinary resident. So now you must have seen when I was teaching this provision, you might feel that it is difficult. But now you can see when we implement this provision, that 730 less days provision, how simple it was. We just need to see information will be in the question that how many days he was in India in last 7 preceding previous year. There was information. There must be information in the question. You just need to find out how many days. As simple as that. And if you are able to find it out, there will be answer. I hope it's clear. Fine. So that was the first condition for becoming a resident and not ordinary resident. So either we need to fulfill condition number 1 or there is condition number 2. If you are not able to satisfy any of them condition, then in that situation, you will be called a resident and ordinary resident. Now let's see what is the condition number 2. Condition 2 is more interesting, more important. And when I say more important, more difficult, more complicated, but it's good. So the condition number 2 says that individual must be in India, non-resident. He must be in India, non-resident. You might be thinking, what? We were discussing he was resident, then we need to check this condition. Now sir is saying non-resident. So if a non-resident, why we will go further? Relax. The condition is not for resident in previous year or non-resident. The condition says he should be non-resident at least for 9 times out of 10 preceding previous year. So this condition is not for current year. So if it is a non-resident in current year, then question will not fall in that category. It would be answered earlier. So the condition 2 says either he would be in India less than 730 days in 7 preceding previous year, or he must be a non-resident in 9 preceding previous year out of 10 preceding previous year. In last 10 preceding previous year, except previous year 24-25, last 10 preceding previous year, out of those last 10 preceding previous year, he or she should be having the status of non-resident for at least 9 preceding previous year. At least either 9 or all 10 years. So if he or she is less than 9-year non-resident, then this condition would not be treated as satisfied. Let me tell you how. So previous year 24-25 does not have anything for these condition, whether it's for 730 days or whether it's for this. So 24-25 does not have any connection with these condition. We have to take the 10 preceding previous year. So it says something like this, that I should write it down over here. Just a second. Place. Should say previous year 24-25 is irrelevant. We need to take last 10 preceding previous year. That means 23-24, 22-23, 21-22, 20-21, 19-20, 18-19, 17-18. Tell me if I am wrong. Here is misplaced. 23, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. 15, 16, and 14, 15. So these are 10 preceding previous year. So this condition says out of these 10 preceding previous year, you should have at least 9 times become a non-resident, at least 9 times. So if you are not a non-resident for at least 9 times, this condition would not be applicable. If you are a non-resident for 9 times, then you will be a resident and not ordinary resident. Let me show you with the help of that Bratley example is very interesting. It's used everywhere. So that Bratley case, suppose he comes to visit India for 120 days every year, or suppose he comes to India for 110 days every year. In the example, it was 100 days. Now we have changed the days. Now suppose he comes to India for 100 days every year from last 15 years. Now calculate his residential status. Of course, he's a USA citizen, not an Indian citizen. So what will happen again? Those condition basic we will check. More than 182, that would not satisfied. More than 60 plus more than 365. So now in India 110 days and this is 440 days because 110 days every year. For 4 years it will be 440. So this is fulfilled. He would be a resident. Then we need to check for the purpose of resident whether he is in India for less than 730 days in 7 preceding previous year. No, because now he was in India for 110 days. So for 7 years, it is 770 days. So for 770 is not less than 730. So this condition is not fulfilled. Now we need to check the second condition, which is more than equal to 9 times non-resident out of 10 preceding previous year. Now we will check how practically in a question we have to check this. Okay, let's see. So we need to find it out that in these 10 years, he should be non-resident for at least 9 years. So let's check in this year. In this year, if we would have checked whether he's a resident or not, that means we have to apply the basic condition again. Same provision for every year. More than equal to 182 or more than equal to 60 plus more than equal to 365. So this year also he was only for 110 days, so cannot satisfy this condition, but this condition again going to be satisfied in this year also. 110, 440. So in 23-24, he would have satisfied second condition again, so he would be a resident. Because in this year, 23-24, he is for 110 days. And 4 preceding year from this, 21, 20, 22, 21, 20 and 19. Sorry, these 4 years. He would have been in India for again 440 days. So this condition also satisfied. So he would have been a resident in this year. In the same case, 20 to 23, it will happen again. 110 days in this year and 4 preceding year from this year. 440 days. Again resident. And now you can see if somebody became resident for 2 times out of this 10 year, in 23-24 he become resident. And we do not need to check in 23-24 ROR or NOR. We just need to check resident or non-resident. So in 23-24 he become resident. And in 22-23 also he become resident. So out of this 10 years, he became resident for 2 years. Startingly, he became resident for 2 years. So out of 10 years, if someone became resident for 2 years, then this condition now cannot be satisfied. Because we need at least 9 times non-resident. And if 2 times somebody became resident, so balance year left 8. So even if in those 8 years he is non-resident, how does it matter? So you need not to check remaining years. So this condition looks very complicated that, oh God, we have to check it for 9 years or for 10 years. It will take a lot of time. But no, examiner will frame question like the way that in initial year you can find it out. It will become resident in 1 or 2 years. So if 2 years he or she became resident, so that means this condition cannot be satisfied. So if he is coming to India for 110 days every year, so he would be a resident in this year, this year, this year also. If you will check, almost out of this 10 year, total 15 years from he was coming. So out of this 10 year, all 10 years he would be a resident. But you need not to calculate. You need not to waste your time. You have to be smart. So whenever you find it out that he is a resident for 2 years, so that means this condition could not be fulfilled. So you can say this condition could not be fulfilled. First does not fulfill, second does not fulfill. So in this example, if he is coming for India 110 days, so he would become a resident and ordinary resident. Because if you are not able to satisfy both conditions, then you will be a resident and ordinary resident. Clear? This is the conditions over here. Let me give you an example, more example. Suppose Mr. Ironman, who is no more now after Endgame, so sad, okay. Suppose Mr. Ironman, a USA citizen, comes to India for visit as follows. Fine. This question is going to be solved by you, okay? Visit for as follows. For previous year, 24-25, number of days stay in India, 200 days he was in India. Fine, I am writing down those days he was in India. Clear? For 23-24, he was in India for 0 days. 22-23, he was in India for 200 days. For 21-22, He was in India for 100 days. For 20-21, he was in India for 200 days. Before that, not in India. So, what is the answer? Kindly find out the residential status of Mr. Iron Man. Yes, we have to check both condition one by one. First of all, you should apply the 730 days condition, Tejaswin. If that is satisfied, the answer is there. But if it does not satisfy, then you have to check the second condition, that is 9-year resident out of the 10 preceding previous year. Dilip is saying resident and not ordinary resident. Very good. Correct. The correct answer is resident and not ordinary resident, because he will be a resident as he is staying in India for more than 182 days. Then we have to check the 7 preceding previous year. In 7 preceding previous year, he is in India only for 500 days. So he is less than 730 days. So he would be called a resident and not ordinary resident. Clear? Suppose in this question, if I change it like this, in 2023-24, he was in India for 300 days. Now, what will be your answer? Now, the first condition of being less than 730 days in India does not satisfy. Now we'll move on to find out 9 out of 10 year non-resident condition. So now you can see very easily. He is in India for 300 days in this year. So 182 days condition fulfill, automatically resident. And the second year also more than 182 days, so resident. So whenever somebody became resident 2 years, we need not to check anything else. All is irrelevant. So if 2 years we became resident, so this condition also cannot be fulfilled. No condition is fulfilled, so he or she will become resident and ordinary resident. So these conditions you need to learn or revise once or twice. If you revise them, these conditions, you would be able to understand the process. I will upload the diagram, the notes also in some time. So you will be able to read the provision with the help of notes as well as the chart. I personally insist, kindly go through this diagram. Kindly go through this diagram. That will going to help you a lot to understand the provision combinedly in a single place. You will be able to find out the difference. What kind of person is required for section 6(1)(a), what is B, third condition, etc. It has been, everything has been mentioned over there. Fine. So, yes, all of you gave the correct answer. Well done, except Vyankata Shumanya was given the wrong answer. Okay, Raman was also saying iron is a resident and ordinary resident. Yes, correct answer, resident and ordinary resident. So I beg your pardon, please. The correct answer is resident and ordinary resident, because he was not able to satisfy any of the conditions for becoming a resident and not ordinary resident. So that was the session. If there's any query, kindly ask me. So we will sum up the session in the next class. We will have the MCQ also. I have also uploaded the MCQ for basic concept chapter. Kindly go through it. If you have any problem in any MCQ, you can ask me in the next class. I will also upload the answer sheet of those MCQ, that how I drive the question, how I solved it. So again, if there is any other problem, you can refer the answers, how we drive to that answer. And even if after that there is any problem, you're most welcome. You can ask MCQs question, test your knowledge question of basic concept in our next session. Okay. So if there is any query, kindly send me on the query portal. Tejaswin is saying, sir, for ROR, we need to satisfy both the condition. No, you are saying vice versa. To becoming a resident or ordinary resident, we do not need to satisfy any condition. We should not be less than 729 days in India, 730 days, and we should not be a non-resident for 9 years out of the 10 preceding previous years. So if we does not satisfy those conditions for becoming a resident and not ordinary resident, then we will be a resident and ordinary resident. Okay, you don't need to take the screenshot of the chart. I will upload the chart in a PDF format so you can check it on the portal and download the notes. Okay. Okay, so we'll continue our lecture day after tomorrow. Till that, please take care of yourself and please be steady, work hard, and be a chartered accountant as soon as possible. So we would be able to meet someday in life personally to each other. Have a good day. So, Mr. Bhargav, can we close the session?